For the last week, I've been non-stop playing Pokemon Legends EA. I've racked up over 100 hours and I'm still not done with the game. It's no secret that I had a great time. Early on, I described the game as an 8 out of 10 game with a 10 out of 10 experience. And I stand by that. However, this game does have a lot of problems, and I think if those were addressed, it could easily become a 10 out of 10. It should be known that the footage you're watching was captured on the Nintendo Switch 2 edition of the game. On that note, let's start off with the game's performance. On the Nintendo Switch 2 edition, I encountered no problems. Thank God. I've yet to fully play the Switch 1 version, but I've been repeatedly told that it runs fine. Occasional stutters here and there, but it's better than Scarlet and Violet. I did see one clip that was showcasing glitches that were like akin to Scarlet and Violet. Of course, that is unacceptable. We can sit here and blame the Nintendo Switch hardware all we want, but other games don't have this issue. Moving on from performance, the cinematic scenes, they are fantastic in this game. The choreography is nothing like we've ever seen from a Pokemon game before. I really hope we see more like this going forward. However, they really could have done with some voice acting. Without it, the scenes just feel really hollow. I'm not saying they have to voice act the full game. Most games don't actually even do that. But if you're going to put in the effort to have these visually impressive scenes, I think voice acting would go a long way. And then just generic grunting noises when you interact with the character outside of a cutscene. Speaking of which, the characters. These, in all honesty, were the highlight of the game for me. But before we continue, you guys know I love my monster catchers, so I'm super excited to announce that this video is brought to you by Alestrals Awakened. If you follow other Pokemon YouTubers, you may already be familiar with Alestrals. If not, back in 2022, Dan, aka A-Drive, made his very own trading card game. And now, teaming up with Shady Penguin, they're finally looking to bring the world of Alestrals to its very own monster catcher. Inspired by Pokemon, Zelda, and Octopath Traveler, Alestrals Awakened is a 2.5D pixel art monster catching RPG set in a world inspired by Greek mythology. In this game, you get the choice to bond with one of 8 elemental spirits. The elements are Earth, Fire, Water, Thunder, Wind, Frost, Solar, and Lunar. Once you've chosen a spirit to bond with, you can train 100 plus different Alestrals. There's 2 ways to make your Alestral stronger: Ascend and Nexus. Ascend is similar to Evolution, you're already familiar with, but Nexus transforms an Alestral's elemental spirit, changing its form to unlock new abilities and potential. In this game, you'll be uncovering the mysteries of the Titan War, challenging divines such as Zeus and Poseidon, competing in the world's first Alestriad, and much, much more. The world of Alestrals has only been made possible by the support of fans. You have until November 7th to support Alestrals Awakened on Kickstarter. This is your one chance to get alpha and beta access of the game, exclusive in-game unlocks, exclusive Kickstarter promo packs and add-ons, or even become an NPC or a caster in-game. While the minimum amount has already been funded, there are stretch goals to add so much more to the game. The more support the game receives, the better the game will be. Alestrals Awakened will be available on PC and Nintendo Switch. I have a feeling this game is going to be something special. Don't miss out. And thank you again to Alestrals Awakened. The main 4 actually felt like a believable friend group. All of the designs were amazing. For me, Kanari, Naveen, and Corbo are my top 3. The dialogue, God, it was refreshing. Does the Emporium have insurance? That's your takeaway? Oh no. What's up? Her face was great, man. Almost missed part of Brother! Literally in the middle of a strategy meeting. Clearly you don't understand. I need you guys to be like this. Where's my tier 3 subs? Lock in! Dude, I love Naveen. I can't believe he's like this, man. I would not have predicted this. You can't savor being part of the chat when you're watching from the archive. Brother, dude, they gotta stop, man. It felt current and at times self-aware. Not to mention when important NPCs mega evolve a Pokemon, they all have their own unique way of doing it. It just adds to their character and it makes you love them that much more. Even non-important NPCs are visually unique and are chock full of funny dialogue and references you don't want to miss. For this section of the video, I'll be getting into some pretty big story spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiled on any story stuff, click on the next chapter. So to put it bluntly, in this game, we're basically cleaning up AZ's 3,000-year-old mess. My favorite stories are always those with morally grey characters. Dexter, Mr. Robot, Attack on Titan, Breaking Bad are all great examples of TV shows that I love that do this. There's no clear right or wrong, and Legends EA leans into that. The AZ we meet in Legends EA is incredibly kind, but as we know, 3,000 years ago, he created the ultimate weapon. The game doesn't try to rehabilitate him. Naveen has dialogue where he fully acknowledges like, hey, AZ, you messed up. The game doesn't shy away from mentioning really dark topics. Topics I would never expect to see in a Pokemon game. The returning bad guys from Pokemon X and Y are held accountable. The game doesn't just ignore or sweep what they did under the rug like I thought they would. It's even revealed that Mabel is pretty much on house arrest. While Lysander is wandering around free, he's now known as L, and he's lost his memory, and he's also been burdened with the curse of immortality. Lysander even has a conversation with AZ about how painful it is to not be able to die. Speaking of AZ, he actually dies. As ever, it is our choices today that will shape tomorrow. I will forever be grateful to Team MZ, my dear friends. Yeah, he's cooked. It's over for him. They show his grave and everything. He even wrote several notes for the main characters to read after his passing. Hell, they had Naveen take his measurements for what was thought to be for clothing, only to find out it was actually for his coffin. There's a plot point of Tawny taking out a loan that will seemingly have really bad consequences if we don't do something about it. In all honesty, I can say I don't dislike a single character in this game. And that's because there was no real bad guy. The bad guy was consequences. My least favorite character though was probably Jet, because what do you even do? Doom and gloom aside, there were plenty of funny and lighthearted moments in this game too. Moments that genuinely got a laugh out of me. I'm only here to say that I wish for Zygarde and Cal to battle. Of course, by all means. Labany, would you handle this? Uh-oh. Thank you, Zygarde. No fucking way! They put him on the board! That's so fucking funny. Why did they take a picture of him? That's so good. While a lot of dialogue choices you were given didn't lead to different outcomes, there were plenty of funny responses that led to different character interactions. We should go down into the sewers, but there's all this water in the way. Dude. I would drink all the water. Drink it? All of it? No, I wouldn't suggest that. So don't you even think about it, Ivor. I also love that the important NPCs made an appearance several times and actually have plot relevance outside of just being a hurdle to get over. Overall, I love the direction Pokemon is going with their characters and their writing. I really hope we get more like this. That was a lot of positives, so let me balance things out with some negative. The game never really explains why our character is in Lumiose, or where exactly we come from. Like, we're on vacation, I guess, but why don't we have a Pokemon of our own? Because of this, I felt a little bit like an imposter at times. Like, what right does a guy on vacation have to clean up a 3,000-year-old mess, catch 3 of Kalos's big legendary Pokemon, and essentially become the savior of the whole region? Maybe it's up to interpretation where your character comes from. Maybe it's truly meant to be a self-insert. Another gripe I have is when you battle Tawny near the end of the game. It's to determine who the strongest Mega Evolution user is. A big plot point, like literally the first scene in the game, AZ says, we gotta find the strongest Mega Evolution user. So the winner of this battle is going to be the one that takes Floette up to Prism Tower to stop Angie. Regardless of winning or losing though, Tawny does it anyway. It took me out of the story a bit when I beat Tawny only for her to disregard the agreement. I would have been fine with this if Tawny showed a bit more emotion at her loss. Maybe she snaps in anger and takes Floette against its will and runs up to stop the tower, only for everything to go wrong because she wasn't actually the right person for the job. Or maybe she beats you using some underhanded tactics that doesn't actually prove she's the best. I would have rathered a scripted loss, or maybe the battle gets interrupted and there's no choice but for Tawny to be the one to do it. Something other than what we got. This was definitely a low point in the story for me. Everything up to that point was fantastic, but making it so us winning or losing didn't matter fell a little flat for me. Also, in the post-game, you finally meet the person that Tawny has been looking for this whole time. It turns out Jet is her grandmother. And in the same scene of finding this out, Jet says, I'm stepping down, you should be the new CEO. I don't know how old Tawny is meant to be. I presumed like 15, 16, because that's kind of been the age of main characters lately. But yeah, Tawny accepts right then and there. And then we get Mega Floette. That honestly just felt like a super rushed scene. And I feel like that could have been expanded on a little bit more. Maybe Tawny's got to, consider it a little bit longer. But she just says, oh, it's what my mom would have wanted. The rest of how the ending of the main story played out was fun and exciting. I particularly loved that the final boss wasn't even a Pokemon. And after winning, things don't just go back to normal. The environment changes permanently, with Prism Tower being destroyed and mossed over, and a wild zone being put up around it to prevent the Pokemon that now inhabit the area from getting out. I was half expecting Prism Tower to magically be repaired, but I'm so glad that I was wrong. I think now it's time we talk about gameplay. As much as I think I will always prefer turn-based Pokemon battles, I welcome the change that Legends EA brings with its action-based combat. For the longest time, fans have wanted Pokemon to be a bit more like the anime, and this is a huge leap in that direction. I love how they cleverly implemented moves, things like entry hazards being laid out in the field, Protect, Double Team, and Detect all being ways to negate damage, but each having their own quirks, making them all unique. As well as typically weak moves in turn-based battles being absolutely broken here, like Dig. Pokemon stats work like how they do in the main series, except the speed stat. In Legends EA, it determines how fast of a cooldown there is on your attacks, allowing for insanely fast Pokemon like Greninja to get surfed back in 4 seconds when the base cooldown is 8 seconds. I really like this use of the speed stat, rather than it being used for how fast it takes your Pokemon to launch its attacks or move across the field. It would have gotten really tedious after a while. On the topic of speed, however, as much as I love that any Pokemon can walk alongside you, when you press the B button to run really fast, you always end up leaving your Pokemon behind, making it so they jump back into their Pokeball and then right back out again just to keep up. I feel like they could have had certain Pokemon be able to keep up with you when you're running at full speed, and have certain Pokemon not be able to keep up. Like Slowbro not being able to get up with me makes sense, but Greninja and Dragonite falling behind breaks the immersion a bit. The best thing about Pokemon walking alongside you though, is that they help you on your adventure. I've always said I enjoyed HMs because it was your Pokemon helping you out on your adventure. The last few games did away with them in favor for ride Pokemon. Pokemon that aren't truly yours, and essentially just get rid of roadblocks for you after you unlock them. While it was convenient to not have to use HMs anymore, they didn't feel special and they felt like a band-aid. Legends EA finally hit the nail on the head though, and allows regular attacks to take care of roadblocks. They allow you to problem solve on your own too. You're introduced to the concept with Rock Smash, but after that, you're on your own. It really comes down to common sense. Like, of course slicing or fire moves can get rid of shrubs. Mabel in this game gives you tasks in relation to completing the Pokedex. This is optional, but I really enjoyed doing these as I played. It was super rewarding to get access to really strong TMs, among other items, because I put in the extra work alongside doing the main story and side quests. We'll talk more about side quests in a bit, but Mabel's tasks created a really fun gameplay loop for me. It actively encouraged me to complete my Pokedex as I played rather than just rushing to complete it in the post-game. By the time I beat the main story of the game, I was only missing the other starters, Steelix, and the legendaries. Mabel's research is also how we access the Shiny Charm, and currently, it's impossible to get enough points for the Shiny Charm without winning 1000 battles and seeing trait evolutions evolve on your screen 5 times. Winning 1000 battles is one I'm personally not bothered by. To me, the end game is all about battling, so it's one of those things that eventually you'll do over time. But I understand why others will have an issue with it. The trading evolution requirement I find a bit more troublesome. Completing the Pokedex with a Shiny Charm has always been the norm, and that has always required trading. But there's something different about seeing a research task unable to be completed if you don't have Nintendo Switch Online or a local friend to trade with. Especially when in previous Legends games they had the link cable item. The last thing I'll say is I wish we could pin specific Mabel research tasks. That way we can see how far away we are to completing a task we're working on without having to navigate through a bunch of menus. We can't talk about filling out the Pokedex without talking about the catch mechanics. The catch mechanics feel pretty good for the most part. It took a bit of getting used to pressing the right trigger button to open up your Pokeball menu. I regularly found myself accidentally throwing Pokeballs, but this was mostly muscle memory from previous games causing me problems. I will say, early game Pokemon can be quite frustrating to catch when your rank is too low. Despite having maxed out my Canary plushes, Pokemon like Eevee and Mawile, who were pretty easy to find, gave me such a hard time. I did particularly enjoy the addition of having one chance of being able to catch a Pokemon that are fainted. I found this is how I mostly went about catching Pokemon. I have this thing where I have to catch every Pokemon in a regular Pokeball, so when it came to rare Pokemon after I KO'd them, I'll save in front of them and then reload my game until they eventually stay in the ball. I think now is the perfect time to mention my biggest issue with Pokemon Legends EA, the size of the Pokédex. In the base game, there is a total of 230 Pokemon available. That's even less than Legends Arceus, and the size of the Pokédex was my issue with Legends Arceus. Now granted, we're in a city setting. I don't expect the national dex, but I feel like maybe 300 Pokemon would have been a nicer number. The lack of Pokemon makes exploring the rooftops of Lumiose super repetitive in particular. I have no doubt that the DLC will add more for us to catch, but it doesn't change that the base game is lacking on that front. A little less than 1/3 of the Pokédex can Mega Evolve, and that's not including the pre-evolutions. Some more Pokemon that can't Mega Evolve would have been appreciated. The small Pokédex did allow them to really hone in and give the Pokemon we did get a lot more personality. One of the main Pokemon I used in my playthrough was Mawile. Typically, I exclusively use new Pokemon when I play a new Pokemon game, So in this case, that would have been any of the new Mega Evolutions. But because of how much personality every Pokemon had, I found myself feeling attached to Pokemon that I had not only used before, but even Pokemon that didn't Mega Evolve. On the topic of Mega Evolution, I love the complete 180 this game did compared to Pokemon X and Y. In X and Y, like 3 trainers other than yourself use Mega Evolution, but in this game, every important NPC has access to it. Even non-important NPCs eventually use it. This truly is Mega Evolution, the game. A big part of Mega Evolution back in X and Y was some of the crazy new abilities they got, but in Legends EA, just like Legends Arceus, there's no abilities. This left a lot of Mega Evolutions feeling weird to use, and it would have been nice if there was more done to address this. Even something as simple as Gardevoir's normal moves becoming Fairy type when it Mega Evolves, Pinsir's normal moves becoming Flying, etc. As for the designs of the Mega Evolutions, I didn't hate any of them. I'll have a video coming out with my reactions plus my rating of each Mega Evolution, so stay tuned for that. But for now, let's just say Mega Scrafty is my favorite and Mega Chandelure is my least favorite. I don't think I can talk about Mega Evolutions though without talking about Mega Starmie. While the design itself isn't necessarily a good one, for what they were trying to achieve, an alien Pokemon that is trying to become more human for reasons unknown, I think it's perfect. It's creepy to see a Pokemon evolve further, only for it to resemble and start moving more like a human. Staryu and Starmie have always been inspired by Ultraman, so the Mega Evolution leading into Starmie becoming more man makes a lot of sense. And honestly, I think if they added more bells and whistles, it would have just taken away from the idea as a whole. This design really focuses on the fact it's becoming more human, rather than it's becoming more human. Oh, but look at the cute little star or extra stuff. It's becoming more human, guys. That's creepy. I previously made a video on my second channel talking about how I didn't think Mega Greninja, Delphox, and Chestnut being locked behind online was the end of the world. To me, your starters are Totodile, Chikorita, or Tepig, and having access to the Kalos Megas in the main campaign would take away from that. This was under the assumption that the Kalos stars wouldn't be accessible until the post-game. However, you can actually get them quite early on, and their Mega Stones are being released at separate times. You have to reach rank K in the online ranked mode. I did that, and it allowed me to play through the game with Mega Greninja, which is my favorite of the 3. But I felt bad for players that preferred Delphox and Chestnut. They wouldn't get to experience their playthrough with those Pokemon. I would have much preferred if all 3 were available at the same time, or if they unlocked the starters behind the post game like I initially thought they would. Another weird choice was allowing you to have the Kanto starters relatively early, to then only be given access to both Charizard's and Blastoise's Mega Stones until you reach a certain plot point, to where you finally get Venusaurs. I think they should have just made it so whatever starter you chose was the boss battle you ended up facing, or if they're set on Venusaur being the boss, make it so the other stones don't unlock until after that plot point. They didn't have issue locking any other Mega Stone behind story progression, so this was just an odd choice to me. The last thing I'll say about Mega Evolution for now is if they weren't going to give them hard-coded abilities, it would have been nice to see them all get a signature move of sorts. They could have even related them to their abilities in some way. For Pinsir, for example, maybe it's only a flying move when Pinsir is Mega Evolved, and it's a bug move otherwise. I'm honestly quite shocked that there weren't any new attacks in this game except for one, considering how different the battle mechanics are. Mega Evolution rant over. Let's focus on the positives again for a bit. There are a lot of side quests. You unlock these from Emma. You're pretty much helping her, I guess, with detective work or whatever. The side quests in this game do an amazing job at world building. You learn so much by doing these and are rewarded with genuinely useful items. A personal favorite of mine is the Shuppet that stopped the divorce. The Lumiose Museum is really cool too. There's a lot of references to other Pokemon games in here. The biggest reveal, at least to me, was that Volo apparently donated his clothing to the museum personally. I feel like Volo is a bigger deal than any of us realize, but only time will tell. It's not just the museum though. As a whole, the game is full of references to a variety of things, both Pokemon and non-Pokemon. Kanari posing like Vocaloids in her posters, and there being a Jurassic Park hat, among other things I probably didn't pick up on. On the topic of clothing, the character customization in this game is great, but it falls flat in a few areas. I wish there were more hairstyles as well as regular t-shirts. The only regular t-shirt you get is the one you arrive in Lumiose. Every other plain shirt has a jacket that you can't take off, so I ended up just settling for the plain white tee you started with. This is really peculiar considering you can buy shorts. Hopefully the DLC adds more hairstyles and regular clothing. One of the most important things to me in a game is quality of life, and Legends of ZA sure has that. The first thing that comes to mind is shiny Pokemon. In this game, whenever a shiny Pokemon is spawned near you, as long as your progress is saved, which autosaves are unable to be turned off in this game, that shiny Pokemon will not despawn if you leave its radius. Your game saves up to 10 shiny Pokemon you haven't interacted with in some way. Interactions being catching them, knocking them out, or scaring them away. Certain Pokemon, like Dratini, Froakie, the rare Pokemon, basically, they can be skittish and they will run away. So if you get a shiny one of those, save like 5 times just to be sure. This is great because a shiny Pokemon can actually spawn near you without you even knowing, since you actually have to get quite close to hear the shiny sound. Because if I throw a ball at one, the other's gonna run, right? Never mind, I'm goated. They also made it so you're 3 times more likely to catch a shiny Pokemon. Pair that with the catch bonus you get for knocking the Pokemon out, and catching shiny Pokemon became a lot less likely to fail. You also get an additional catch bonus on alpha Pokemon specifically if you knock them out, because they can be quite a hard fight, making it so shiny alpha Pokemon are also very hard to fail. The game doesn't actually autosave if you fail a capture either, so as long as you save right before interacting with a shiny, you can reset and try again if something goes wrong. To put it into perspective, at the highest rank with the maximum amount of Canary plushes, a regular Beldum that's been KO'd is a 5% chance of being caught in a Pokeball. If that same Beldum were a shiny alpha, it would have a 54% chance of being caught in a Pokeball. Because we're in modern Lumios, we no longer have to craft Pokeballs, but in Legends ZA, Pokeballs are a lot cheaper. Honestly, I think most of the items are half the price they normally are, and money actually isn't super hard to come by. On top of that, another great quality of life is this Pokeball guy. In front of every Pokemon Center, there's this guy that collects the Pokeballs you waste, and he gives them back to you. So I never had to worry about being low on Pokeballs, despite not having a craft mechanic. Now, we can't talk about quality of life without mentioning the new PC box system. This is the best the box system has ever felt to use. Not only is there mass releasing, but you can also fully empty your party and add a whole new 6 with ease. And when moving Pokemon between boxes, they'll automatically fill in the free slots rather than needing to be in a specific order to fit. I really hope that this is the box system we get in every Pokemon game going forward. It's perfect. I will say, I wish there was something we got for releasing Pokemon, but that's a nitpick. Actually, allow me to get off a bunch of nitpicks really fast. We can't mark multiple areas on the map, and the one marker we do have goes away when you reach the destination. Marking your map was a feature in Pokemon Legends Arceus, so it seems weird to me that it isn't here. I wish we could skip the day and night transition cutscene. After playing for a while, it can feel really intrusive. Even though it doesn't hurt shiny hunting, not being able to turn off autosave seems really silly. Having to empty your party for quests that require you to bring one Pokemon is mildly annoying. Similarly, you can't choose party Pokemon when you're building a team online. You either have to choose what's in your party or choose what's inside your box. Buying mints and berries is obnoxiously slow. You can only buy them one at a time. We should be able to buy them in bulk just like we can in Pokemon Centers. However, if it's the EV reducing berries you're looking for, once you reach a certain plot point in the story, you'll be able to go to the Rust Syndicate and wipe a Pokemon's EVs for a measly 5 Mega Shards. Oh yeah, Mega Shards, oh boy. I enjoy collecting these because this is how you buy certain story related Mega Stones, as well as EXP candies to help with grinding. The issue is they're capped at 999, meaning you have to continuously check your bag to see if you maxed out on shards. A solution to this would be making the cap higher, but if they don't want to do that, I wish they would give me notifications when I'm no longer collecting shards. Having the game go, your bag is full when you're trying to collect Mega Shards but you're at 999 would be a huge help. Now I've got those nitpicks off my chest, let's talk graphics. Honestly, I think these games look fine. The characters and the Pokemon look good, and that's what's important to me. I think a lot of people's issues surrounding the graphics of the games comes from the environment. We're in a city, so your surroundings a lot of the time look very grey. Not to mention, people are quite upset over them using textures for buildings rather than having each building be a fully fleshed out 3D model. Personally, I don't care. It's passable, and the important buildings do look good. Some people are also upset about the game's setting just being one city. I think this is a good thing though. Limiting themselves to a city allowed them to really flesh it out. I will also add that there's many a time my Pokemon or an opponent's Pokemon would get caught in something and they aren't able to land an attack because of it. This is kind of frustrating, but I understand that there's a lot of variables to consider. The worst of it was when my opponent's Pokemon got caught inside of a door and I had to run away from the battle because we couldn't hit each other. I also appreciated that they allowed us to explore the sewers as well as Lysander's Cafe. I hope that the DLC brings more areas for us to explore. The wild zones were alright. They at least made sense with the plot. Would have been cool to see more visual environment changes with them though. There was some controversy about how you skip a lot of the ranks, and I will say this was definitely a good thing. As much as I personally would have loved to grind, the average player wouldn't want to slog through 26 ranks. It also adds importance to your character. If I was a kid playing this game, I would feel like a badass for being so good that I got to skip all of these ranks. It's not like they just let you skip the ranks for no reason either. They do this because you were able to subdue a rogue mega evolution all on your own, because Zygarde decided that you had to be the one to do it. Speaking of which, during that scene, Zygarde grabs you and jumps on the roof with you. I honestly thought that this was a hint that once you finally got Zygarde, you'll be able to jump on the roofs or maybe even over water with Zygarde. But as it stands right now, that isn't the case. This was a bit of a letdown for me. It would have been nice that at the end of the game, after you've already spent countless hours exploring Lumiose by foot, if they made the exploration a little bit easier. I will also add, I think they could have been a bit more imaginative than having your phone be the thing that allows you to essentially double jump or not plummet to your death. Zygarde could have been a nice upgrade for that. The difficulty of the game felt fine for me. I don't really look to Pokemon to challenge me, but despite being overleveled, I had a few moments that were hard, especially near the end. I will say, alpha Pokemon can be quite obnoxious if you're just trying to go to a wild zone and catch a regular Pokemon. You can of course just knock them out to make your life easier, but in the higher level areas, this could take a while. I wish we could visit each other's cities just like we could in Scarlet and Violet. It would be dope to have coffee together, take pictures with each other's Pokemon, or even battle and trade. Just exploring the world with a friend would be amazing. The music in this game was amazing as always. My personal favorite is Zygarde's theme. I'll be doing a tier list stream listening and ranking all the music at some point, so if you're interested in that, stay tuned. However, I do wish there was a bit more variety when you're in Lumiose itself, since that's where you're spending most of your time. And the last thing I'll say is, compared to Legends Arceus, I'm super glad there's online functionality. Once I was done with Legends Arceus, I had no real reason to pick the game back up again. I mean, I guess I could shiny hunt, but with no way to battle or trade with friends, it made the desire to do that way less. However, in Legends ZA, there's a ranked mode, and you can battle with up to 4 friends, as well as trade. I have a lot more incentive to keep playing the game beyond the first few weeks of launch, and I'm very excited about that. Overall, I had an amazing time with these games, but they are flawed. I think a 7 to an 8 out of 10 is a very fair rating for these games. I really hope we see Pokemon continue to experiment with battling now that we've got Pokemon champions. If you think I missed anything, or you disagree with any of my points, please feel free to leave a comment. I love talking about Pokemon even if we disagree, just so long as you're respectful. I have a few more Legends ZA videos in the works, so of course, stay tuned. Thanks for watching.